Good morning. Good morning, everybody. This is the last day of the UCLG annual retreat and campus. It is the presidency day, and so as you can see, the setting has changed. But this first hour, you cannot hear me? Yes. But this first hour, we are going to be dedicating not to the formal presidency meeting, but actually to do a recap, conclusions of our week, right? And the conclusions are not formal conclusions, but we want to do a checkpoint, a stock taking of what we have felt during the week, some impressions from the room, so that our political leadership that has not been throughout, some of them have, but some others could not be here, have a sense of what we have been discussing and what kind of a spirit we have had during these days. As you know, we have been doing reverse engineering. We have been opening up the factory of the future to ensure that we are ready to transform our Pact for the Future of Humanity into action. We want the strong text, the strong narrative that we adopted in Daejeon, that very bold vision of how the world should be, and the place that local and regional governments should have in the world, to be not only narrative, which is welcome and we need it, not only a vision, but also commitments and actions. And we have been working together to see what kind of high impact partnerships we need to develop, what are the partnerships that we need to enhance to achieve that. We have also been looking at what kind of instruments do we already have that are meaningful and can be an important pillar for this pact, and also what kind of actions we are already undertaking, which are high impact actions that will contribute to making the pact actionable, but also to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The pact declares that the Sustainable Development Goals are a valid framework for the renewal of our social contract, and it gives examples of the kinds of things that we need to do. Throughout the week, we have been questioning the relationship between the public sector and the protections of the commons. We have been addressing the importance of increasing trust as a very critical basis for the renewal of democracy. We have been discussing new modalities of financing, not only local financing, but economy in general, a transformation of the economy. And we have been also talking about the renewal of governance, the renewal of the governance structure at local, at national, at regional, and at world level. We have been discussing about the role that we need to have as local and regional governments constituency before the multilateral system. Because if we don't have a role in a networked multilateral system, we are convinced that that system will not be ready to deliver. And we, as constituency, have also discussed this week, that we want to work towards a world that acknowledges that the multilateral system is actually a common good for humanity. And it needs to be ready for purpose. Local multilateralism can actually ensure that it complements the traditional multilateral system, but also that it helps transform it into a truly networked multilateralism, that our common agenda, promoted by the United Nations, and in particular the Secretary General, makes it and leads us to transformation. So these are some of the discussions that we have been having with hope, with energy, but we have also identified challenges. And some of the challenges that we have identified are, for instance, the way that institutions are perceived, the way that people are informed, the relationship with the media, the relationship with the social media and with the communities was the subject of discussion yesterday. And I have to say it was a very new topic for us, particularly having the press in the room to have this discussion. But I think it is a discussion that will carry on, and it will be an important axis for our work in the coming period, and that will connect importantly with the renewal of democracy beyond participatory democracy and beyond the accountability and open government work that we already do. So presidency, this is in a nutshell what we have been doing throughout the week. You have heard, they have certainly heard enough from me. So I'm going to open the floor now and be bold, because if you don't, I will anyway come to your table to have your impressions about what you are bringing home from this retreat. So this is my first question to you. What are you bringing home? And the second thing that I'm going to be asking, and that I would appreciate you thinking about, is what is the immediate action that you would like to do in your own organization to bring the spirit of the retreat to the work that you do every day? Of course, you may share with us any other impressions as well, but those two questions would be very important to have, because they are going to feed into our work program, and they will be feeding in how we plan as well our next annual retreat and the upcoming meetings that we have throughout the year. I would also like to take the opportunity to share with you, at some moment it will be coming up, the joint work that we have done and the important milestones that we have identified as we work towards the Summit for the Future. There is a mural that is coming up there, is behind you, that shows us the important markers that we need to go through, and we have done this work in collaboration with all the other networks of local and regional governments that come together in the Global Task Force during our work on Wednesday. It's a good reminder of all the commitments that we have. As you see, 2023 is a very intensive year. I'm certain that 24 and 25 will be as well. But for now, that's the mapping that we have, the commitments that we already have. So have you thought about my questions? Let me start looking at the room. If I don't see hands, I will start approaching tables. So, any hands? They're breaking the ice. I knew I could count on you, Jamal. We also, throughout the week, have been expressing our solidarity with Turkey, certainly. And today, the presidency will also address our work around Turkey, but you can obviously talk also about other things. We are grateful you're here. Jamal, please, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Emilia. Well, in the besides the political mandate that I'm carrying, I'm also working in the Union of Turkish Municipalities in project development unit. So we are managing somewhere around a portfolio of 70 million euro project financing, and then we distribute that amount to the municipalities. And many of the time, different government organizations in Turkey, they ask me, it's like, okay, you guys have created this unit 2-3 years ago, and how did you come to this portfolio? And then we have, in the ministry, one of the ministry told me, I have 45 experts working on the, portfolios, and they couldn't reach up to that number. And then we said, because we are engaged with the global community. When we write project proposals, we know what to put in there. We know what's been happening in the world. We know what's been happening in China. We know what's been happening in Latin America, in North America, in Europe, in Africa. And we can feed that information into proposals. And then sometimes, even the donor organization, if it's working on climate, even they don't know those small details that we know. In one of them, we said, okay, we distribute heat officers in Turkey. That's what we will try to do. because one municipality in Europe created this heat officer thing, and it's an example to the whole world. And I was like, where did you know? It was that we met them in one of the meetings at the global community. So the retreat is always an opportunity for us, for my personal development is one side, but on the other side, the whole ideas that we bring back to the Union of Turkish Municipalities and put everything on the table, and then we say, what sort of projects can we develop with these discussions? What sort of projects can we develop with these policies? Because these are the policies of donor organizations. They want us to do this. So we know what's been happening. We know local authorities. Let's develop projects. That is the success of retreat for us. In terms of earthquake, we also thought about what's our competitive advantage. We can develop strong proposals. Yes, we can also go there in the ground. We did it last week. We spent so much time talking to people, doing something. But we also know that if we spend more time in the office, we can create 10 million euro projects, which is something we cannot do on the ground. So that's why what we are doing here, speaking with all the partners, and thank you very much for all the messages, solidarities, and then also in your own country, I know pretty much all the countries that started these campaigns. We are going back to Turkey with many, many ideas, and we're going to put proposals. We already start speaking with the VNG about a new proposal development, and I think that is the very, very, very highly added value of the retreat for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for these inputs, and applause to Jamal for breaking the ice and also for this valuable overview. When we started the week, we were saying, you know, UCLG meets a lot. We meet a lot as UCLG family, but the formats are different. The retreat is a homemade dinner. If the Congress is a banquet, the retreat is where we invite partners and members to our kitchen to cook dinner with us, and it's a very exclusive club that actually participates in this. So if that exclusive club can trigger what you have described, I think we are meeting the objective. Vice Mayor of Nantes, please.
Oui, bonjour à toutes et à tous. Anthony pour Nantes Métropole. Permettez-moi en premier lieu déjà d'adresser mes pensées à nos amis turcs et syriens victimes de ces séismes et aussi à nos amis ukrainiens qui viennent de vivre une année qui vivent un triste anniversaire après une année sous les bombes et les bombardements. Ce que je retiens de cette retraite, c'est que cette communion, en tout cas internationale, ici présent, entre tous les gouvernements et les collectivités locales, qui montre bien qu'en période de crise, c'est nous qui sommes au front, c'est nous qui avons à répondre devant nos habitants, devant nos citoyens, des situations les plus difficiles. Et de se retrouver là et de pouvoir l'exprimer collectivement, ça montre aussi Ah, il y a un problème de traduction, visiblement.
Non, ça ne marche pas. Je ne sais pas pourquoi.
Ah.
On va regarder. Ça va? Peut-être avec ça. Oui.
Est-ce que c'est mieux comme ça? Oui, c'est bon. C'est une question de micro. Donc je reprends. Donc je présentais... Ok, d'accord. Donc j'exprimais en premier lieu toutes mes pensées à nos amis turcs et syriens suite au séisme qui a eu lieu dernièrement, et aussi à nos amis ukrainiens qui vivent un triste anniversaire après toutes ces époques de bombardement, d'attaques qu'ils subissent. En tout cas, moi, ce que je retiens de cette retraite, c'est la communion de nous tous ici, des maires, des collectivités locales, face aux périodes de crise. On se retrouve tous ensemble réunis. On voit bien que face à toutes ces difficultés, on est tous dans le même bateau et qu'il nous faut collectivement trouver les solutions pour répondre aux attentes de nos habitants, de nos populations. Et dans les éléments qui ont été apportés, il y a la charte pour l'avenir. Et dans sa traduction qu'on essaye de mettre en place depuis cette semaine, le début de cette semaine, moi je retiens quelques éléments, notamment l'innovation qui a été apportée sur la question du rapport à la presse, comment on communique auprès de chacun sur notre action, ce que nous faisons au quotidien, ce qui n'est pas forcément visible et audible par tous. Et ce que je retiens aussi, c'était mercredi, si je me souviens bien, des syndicats des services publics qui sont intervenus pour dire qu'il n'y a pas non plus de possibilité sans service public fort. On ne peut pas engager une transition et atteindre nos ODD s'il n'y a pas un service public fort. Pour moi, ce sont deux éléments forts. Et ce que je ramène chez moi, en tout cas, les choses sur lesquelles je m'engage à agir, c'est de traduire cette charte de l'avenir au sein de ma collectivité et de porter encore plus fortement les notions d'ODD auprès de mes collègues élus et de toutes les instances qui agissent auprès de nous. Merci.
I promise we didn't give a script to the vice mayor because it was such a good answer for all of us serving you at the different secretariats, the regional sections, but also the World Secretariat. It's music to our ears that you commit to translating to your own community. And I also want to emphasize how important it has been for us. Of these 270 people, sometimes 300 people that have been attending throughout the week this retreat, a very high percentage was organized civil society. And you are absolutely right. We cannot do this alone, and the intervention of the international union, the Federation of Unions, Public Service International, a very strong partner of ours, I think was extremely pertinent, and they are critical actors for us to bring to the United Nations this notion of localization is actually focusing on local service provision, because local service provision is the basis, to access to the commons and protection of the most vulnerable, but also transforming society towards sustainability. So very grateful for that input, and important to acknowledge that if you think that we should engage with other type of civil society, bring that back home as well, and let us know who else we should be inviting at the table. In the presidency meeting agenda, there will be discussions about about the anniversary, of course, of this terrible conflict that we are facing, and there will be discussions about a further solidarity statement and commitment to support the victims in Turkey and also in Syria. So that you are aware that this is on the table. We will also be discussing some inclusive governance reforms that we want to do in UCLG, and you have been hearing throughout the week that some of the proposals that we have is to walk the talk and include organized civil society in our institutional architecture as well, just like we are asking the United Nations to do in our case. And Georgia, thank you very much, Councillor, for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Today it's 1 year anniversary of the Russian war against Ukraine, and tomorrow is also an anniversary of Soviet occupation of Georgia, which took place in 1921. So I would like to take a chance and raise a very concerning issue which relates to the occupied territories of Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine. I think there is no need to remind this audience that sovereignty and territorial integrity are the core principles, one may even say the holy of holies of public international law. They also constitute the apex of the Charter of the United Nations. Today I speak on behalf of 3 nations, Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine, who have fallen victims of flagrantly unlawful and unbelievably unjust violations of these fundamental principles of international law. Territories which, according to the internationally recognized borders of states, form integral and inseparable parts of Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine are currently under the illegal and illegitimate occupation by the Russian Federation. There is a multitude of resolutions adopted by some of the most authoritative international intergovernmental organizations, such as the United Nations, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, the Council of Europe, the European Union, and many more, which unequivocally support sovereignty, territorial integrity, inviolability of internationally recognized borders of Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine, and which at the same time unequivocally condemn and call for immediate cease of Russian orchestrated and Russian executed occupation of territories of Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine. On example of my country, I can also cite...
Thank you very much. You have 1 more minute to go, and could you start to wrap up and go also to the topic that we are discussing, link it up with that? Thank you for your statement.
Well, I hope I will have a chance to make an intervention afterwards as well, because there is a message that I want to be conveyed here.
Please deliver your message.
But it requires some time, so maybe I will have an opportunity to intervene at a later stage.
What are you bringing home from the retreat?
A lot of food of thought. And I especially, it was especially very useful to the yesterday's discussion about the relation between the media and the municipalities. That was particularly useful, and I'm also thinking of maybe we could replicate this format to have a similar meeting with the representatives of media in Tbilisi. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much. And I don't pretend to close the issue that you opened with. The World Organization has always expressed the unequivocal support to the respect of international law. There are going to be indeed discussions about this as well later on in the presidency meeting. I am very grateful for your contribution statement, and I'm sure the political leadership will be happy to discuss that further with you in whatever format. I'm very, very grateful for bringing this back. Okay, are there more things? Yes. Secretary General Rashid Sagitov from Eurasia. And can we try and focus on the stock-taking session?
The main thing I take from retreats, certainly I was also always keeping to talk that the retreats are very useful for the members of our organization, for the staffs of secretariats, but the main thing that I take from this retreat, that we stay united regardless with the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and due to the wise position of our presidency, due to the position of the Secretary General Emilia Sais, we stay united. Not many international organizations can say about it now, because certainly during this year it was a tension, but now we can see that we are united and we stay, we could keep the unanimity of the organization. My name is Rashid Sagitov. I am Secretary General of UCLG Eurasia, which is based in the city of Kazan, Republic of Tatarstan in the Russian Federation. And that's why for us, as representatives of Russia, it's very important to keep the unity of the organization, because this is a possibility of dialogue. Whatever happens, UCLG stays if you want the space for dialogue between peoples, between cities.
Thank you very much. And I think that very last word is very important. Let us remember that we do not represent countries here. What we represent is local, regional governments, individuals, civil society, and that type of diplomacy is a different type of diplomacy. Of course, it's always attached to the reality and the context that we are at, but the type of unity that we try to promote here is one that is based on the ancient ties that our movement has been building since 1913, and that focuses on values, on principles, and a great legacy of work at community level. It's building communities that we care about, and we think that that very sense of responsibility is what keeps us together. And the representation that we do here is either individual, city, local, regional government level, association level, but certainly not countries in most cases. We have had country representatives joining us throughout the retreat, and we are very happy about that. I see the hand, Jean-Pierre Nlonembasi, Secretary General of UCLG Africa. I also see the hand of the Mayor of Cologne, our co-president, the Mayor of Kitchener. We also like the floor, Tehran and Pefi, and I stop here, and we will come back to all of you. Jean-Pierre.
Two things. Number one, congratulations to our secretariat, our World Secretariat. The job that is done at this secretariat and the way it is done deserve applause. Two innovation I'm taking from this retreat, and this was said before, the conversation with the media. This is a brilliant idea. And as the leadership was saying before me, let's duplicate this conversation back home in each of our organizations, so that we have a better understanding how we can work together, media and local governments. Second innovation that I take from here, the marketplace. What a brilliant idea. Because, remember, we take books, we take conferences, we take brilliant ideas. But to go in depth, to understand what we are selling to the world, what are the main, the bulk of what we do, and to meet with the people that are doing this work, is just a brilliant idea. This also will take back home. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I think certainly my team is going to be so happy. We had so many doubts about that marketplace. We don't have enough space. It's going to be messy. People will not like it. But I am very, very happy that we pushed through. We have tried to make as many new ideas as possible, and I think some of them are keepers. Sometimes we will need to change. But we are delighted that you are doing that. So, I mean, for us, it was a whole process. I was saying to some of you yesterday during the reception that when the team came up with this idea of the factory for the future, you know, it was something that I had seen in the papers related to the common agenda, etc. And then the team took it and brought it to a different dimension. We talked about the crane that could come in. And then I looked at them and said, yes, let's do the crane, you know. And they were like, really? Yay! Look at that. We have it there. We will keep it with us. So it is a very creative process that has a value in itself. And I would like to encourage the different parts of the network to go through that process, because it actually challenges you to look at our work from a different perspective. So allow me to give the floor now to the Mayor of Cologne. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this short intervention, but thank you also for the representative of Georgia and France for your intervention due toward Ukraine. And I think, turning to the member from Merwa, we have to discuss here also this issue of war, because cities are hardly affected by this war too. By example, in our city, Cologne, 14,000 refugees arrived in 8 weeks. 3,000 kids are in our schools. So we have created more than 200 additional school classes only in our city, and that affects us as well as the energy costs rise very, very much. So we are very much affected, and we have also to discuss, and I'm happy that Russia is here, but I think they don't want to discuss with us who is responsible for this war, and we have to discuss here this issue at this round table. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for bringing that. I mean, the UCLG is an open floor, open mic kind of setting for almost all of our meetings. So whatever you decide to discuss will be put to discussion. In our efforts to actually structure our work, so to make sure that we are able to move forward, that kind of discussions we try to organize under the municipal peace talks. And we have a very extensive peace agenda and a very extensive migration agenda. In this year, we will have a forum in Bogota that was presented yesterday on the city diplomacy and peace. Those are the spaces that we are trying to structure so that everybody is part of that discussion. And I have to say, there is not one of those sessions where our Russian membership has not been represented. So they have been there every single time. But if we need to have a session around that, a more specific session, well, let us do that under that instrument that we have, the municipal peace talks. Thank you very much for bringing it here as well. Co-President Bravanovic.
Thank you very much, Emilia. And let me begin by saying one of the first things I'll be taking back with me is how great, quite frankly, our UCLG team is in the creation of this factory idea and all of the work that's gone into the past week while we were here. You know, the other thing that I'll be taking back is the mural. That's whether you're, depending on where you're sitting in the room, either in front of us or behind us. And I look at that mural on the wall and I see immense opportunity. I see the fact that as a sector, we've come together, we've proven again this week the power of our united voice, what can be achieved when we work together as the cities and local government associations of the world. And we see the opportunity that's presented to us in all of the events that are on that calendar between now and 2030 to further advance the vision that we share, our shared pact for the future in terms of how we would like to see our cities, our communities, and our planet develop over the next while. But the other thing I then reflect on is that with that opportunity comes immense responsibility. And I think we can't lose sight of that. I think we're hearing some of the passion and emotion in the room today, which I think speaks to some of that responsibility. And for me, what that responsibility most importantly talks about is the role that we all play to look at the things that bind us together as cities and communities, the things that bind us together as humanity, as opposed to those that divide us apart. And I think more than ever, and you know, we feel, I can tell you in my own city, you know, the situation in the world and so on, there's a lot of tension in people, a lot of anxiety in the post-COVID world. We're seeing it in terms of mental health, so many things. We're seeing it play out here. And as leaders, it becomes really so critical, I think, for all of us to be that voice of positivity, that voice of optimism, and quite frankly, that voice of hope towards the kind of future that we collectively want to see. Because if it's not going to happen at the cities, it's not going to happen anywhere. And so that, I think, is the call to action that I'm going to be taking away from this meeting.
Thank you very much, and applause as well. I would say my hands are too packed. I cannot applaud myself, so I need to ask for the applause. Thank you so much for that. I think it's also relevant, co-president. You're so right when you talk about responsibility, and it is a word that has been coming up throughout the retreat very strongly, the responsibility that we need to undertake. It's also important, I think, in a federation of federations as global as ours, to realize that we need to work also, we need to work politically with political responsibility, and we also need to work technically to support that political responsibility. And the retreat, while this community of UCLG is very politically driven, and it has many representatives that are elected around the table. The retreat is more of a technical space as well, where we try to connect the political and the technical. That's a very special space that we have. And so this is also why it's so important to ensure that we build this kind of shared collective vision and responsibility from every single angle. And I am grateful that that you are recalling this issue of responsibility that certainly has been reflected in the discussions that we have had. So on my list, I have Tehran, then I have Pefi, our representative from the Pacific, then I've got Mayor Sefiani, the City of New York, FMDB, and I had seen someone over there, and I forgot. Oh, yes. Okay. So
Shall I?
let us take this. Vice Mayor of Tehran.
Thank you very much. Before talking about what I'm bringing back home, I would like to talk about what I brought back home last year. It was my first time last year, and with the experience that I found here in 2022, I realized that we need to have more people here, and how fruitful and helpful for our city could be to work with UCLG. And I say could be because the opportunities that UCLG, the Federation of Federations, the good interpretation of Emilia, is that there are a lot of potentials if we can use that. So there are a lot of grounds there. There are a lot of potentials that we, the city managers, need to use them, need to work together to use multilateralism in international levels, working cities together and dealing with the challenges that we are facing in our cities and such issues, all the issues that we all know about them in city management. So based on that, I realized that I need to have more people on board here for this year meeting, and I did that. I had my member to the city council here this year, and it was very fruitful. The number of discussions and meetings that we had bilaterally, multilaterally here was very helpful. We learned a lot of experiences from other cities, and we are going back home with a lot of ideas and experiences and information that it could not have happened if we were not here. So again, actually I can say that we did try to increase our presence here so that we can increase our use from that those potentials that UCLG has. And I hope that this can be more and more, so all of us can use these opportunities and to work together to put aside political differences, political issues. We had several meetings with several cities from countries that our governments might be in tough times with each other, might have some discussions with each other. But we are not political bodies. Municipalities and urban management is not something political. We are dealing with the same things that every city is facing. The air pollution is not something political. Climate change is not something political. So I hope that this trend would go on more and more, and the UCLG would find its place better than future, and I hope that we can use it more and more in City of Tehran. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I am looking at the presidency because we are due to start the presidency meeting now. So I am begging your agreement and your support that we continue and we wrap up with this round, this moment. Would you be in agreement? Presidenta, seguimos un ratito, ¿no? Porque creo que es importante oír a la sala. Le agradezco. So let's carry on. I've got our special envoy, Mayor Sefiani. Thank you. Then New York FNDB, Benoit Pillier, and I would be closing with that because we need to carry on with the discussions, if you agree.
Merci beaucoup, Emilia, Madame la Présidente, chère amie. Moi seulement, en quelques mots, je veux dire que à travers les différentes retraites que j'ai participé, il y a un renouvellement continu. Et ça, c'est très important. Et chaque fois, on a l'envie à être là et à participer, à donner, à partager. Et je crois que cet espace de dialogue entre les politiques et les techniques, il est hyper important. Et l'innovation et la créativité, elle est primordiale. Et je crois que, commençons par le choix de ce site-là, elle est symbolique, qui donne plus de possibilités de créativité. Et aussi, je dois souligner la compétence et le dynamisme et l'engagement de toutes les femmes et les hommes de l'équipe du secrétariat mondial. Je crois qu'elle est très diverse, il fait un très grand travail, il nous donne la possibilité annuelle de se retrouver chaque année, et je crois avec cet esprit-là, un esprit de famille, et de regrouper aussi d'autres acteurs dans le mouvement municipaliste, dans la journée de la Global Force par exemple. Je crois qu'avec cette synergie-là, on pourra partir ensemble avec un optimisme vers l'avenir. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Innovation, very important, concrete outcomes that Tehran was discussing. Their involvement in the planning committee, for instance, is one of the things that we highlighted. So thank you very much for these inputs. And I'm going now to the Deputy Commissioner for International Affairs of the City of New York. Welcome, Aissata.
Thank you so much. And really want to echo and continue to share the support of New York City for the people of Ukraine, especially because of the fact that we have one of the largest diasporas of Ukrainians in our 5 boroughs, and so we feel very close to this issue. And we thank everyone that has made really great comments on that front. I also want to take the opportunity to once again thank Emilia, Pablo, Massimo, everyone on the UCLG team for bringing us together. I know how hard it is when you bring people together because you bring us in here and then we decide to do whatever we want. But as we walk away from here, the 2 words that I will take back is going to be opportunity and acceleration. We are at a time in our world where cities' voices are more important than ever. Cities, we are peace builders. Cities, we are the ones that are the first response. But cities, we also have a great responsibility. And as I walk away from here and in my role as one of the representatives of New York City, I really will be keeping that in mind. And I want to talk about acceleration. We need to take the momentum from here, bring it into New York, and bring it into the United Nations. And with that, I also want to thank our UN colleagues. You've heard our messages. We count on you to bring it back to headquarters and to work with us to accelerate the change that we all want to see. So thank you once again, Emilia.
Thank you very much. And apologies to Pefi, you are unforgettable, but I did forget because I was busy looking at the wrong list. Pefi, please go ahead, our representative from the Pacific and the spokesperson on migration from one of our key partners. Please, Pefi.
Matkimu, matkitu, munutangalo. Matkimu, matkitu, munutangalo. Presidency, leaders, leads. Takeaway number 1, you are as good looking as I told you the day one that I spoke. So thank you for that. You have been gracious. You have been extremely forgiving, and you have been encouraging. Thank you for your inspiration. I'm always reminded by the very famous Bell Hooks, who speaks of the passion and the fire that rages within. You have that in abundance. Thank you. That's takeaway number one. Takeaway number two, thank you for opening the doors, the windows, so that Pacific may have a conversation with you. Thank you for allowing that we will indeed perhaps mull over Indigenous as an agenda item, that we will indeed look at climate migration and any other. Thank you for your forbearance. Takeaway number three, you know I love poems, and you know I love poets. This one is a Spanish one. The very famous Antonio Machado, who did so say, "Wanderer, your footsteps are the road and nothing more. Wanderer, there is no road. The road is made by walking. By walking, one makes the road, and upon glancing behind, one sees the path that never will be trod again. Wanderer, there is no road, only waves upon the seas." Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing us to be wanderers. Kia tū tangaloa e mawhala. May you safely wander and paddle back home.
Thank you. Caminante, no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. It was my dad's favorite poem. FMDB. Carlos, sorry.
Don't be sorry, Emilia. Emotions are important, and you are a key person here. So whenever you are emotional, we are too with you and supporting you and the memory of your father. I take the opportunity to do as the other ones here, to praise the work of the World Secretariat, the whole team. Thank you so much for the welcoming and the energy and the smiles, more importantly, and the comfort you gave us in this retreat. It's been a long time since I came to a UCLG retreat. I was focused on certain programs, and it's very impressive to see what I consider with being absent all these years is that we have probably reached a maturity of the quality dialogue between the organizations, in terms of positioning also, but also in terms of the quality of the narrative. And the Pact for the Future is, I think, an exemplary move to collectively join forces. And what I will take away as a principal moment was the discussion we had on economy and finance. Well, I'm finance, so obviously I have vested interests. But I think that the fact that we are now mature to say that we need to work better and more in depth on these very key structural pillars of the activities and actions, positioning of the local and regional governments is very important. It's very challenging because it's a never-ending story. But I think that we discussed with FAMSI about the Local Economic Development Forum, about the Commission. We discussed about financing in a very light way. I mean, we need to go in depth, and we will with the Secretariat and the partners. But I think it's key that the presidency here and the whole group of politicians that are present here take this opportunity to really think about what should be the next steps on economy and finance for UCLG, for the collective of local and regional governments associations, to make key propositions, structural propositions in the key moments that we have here on the screen. It's very important that we do structural, systemic propositions, and we never did that much of this kind of engineering, financial and economic engineering, and we need to go there if we want to propose real alternatives that support the implementation of the Pact for the Future. And that, I think there was a lot of energy in the room to support that, and we'll be there to support the Secretariat.
Thank you very much. Indeed, we have been discussing about the finance architecture, but we have also been discussing about the type of advocacy that we need to transform the global finance architecture. And there are ideas that have come up which I think are really important. I think Aroma Rebi, that was with us, also emphasized that the unpacking of the pact really necessitated of this. So absolutely right, we will be working together on this and building on the very strong paper that one of our Ubuntu advisors developed together with the guidance of our Secretariat and FMDB. Thank you for that. I'm going to Benoît Pillier, the Vice Mayor of Angers. Bienvenue, à vous la parole.
Merci beaucoup, Emilia. Non.
Ça va pas?
Ah, si, c'est bon. Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Je ne vais pas être redondant avec tous les messages qui ont été donnés. Je suis en phase complète avec l'énergie qui s'est dégagée pendant cette retraite. Merci beaucoup. C'est une vraie force que nous avons de nous réunir ici. Moi, aujourd'hui, ma responsabilité en tant qu'élu local, avec des responsabilités régionales, avec la chance d'être vice-président de Cités Unies France, et le message à porter après sur nos territoires, c'est comment toute la richesse, tout ce que nous vivons ici entre techniciens, élus, convaincus, je le ramène sur mon territoire pour que mes collègues élus, pour que la population comprenne les enjeux globaux que nous vivons. Comprenne qu'un déplacement à Barcelone pour un élu, ce n'est pas un voyage, ou c'est un voyage intérieur si on veut, mais ce n'est pas un voyage pour se faire plaisir, c'est un voyage pour se nourrir les uns les autres et pour revenir après avec de la matière à partager. Et pour être dans le concret, on l'a tous dit, les collectivités territoriales, c'est le maillon fort des politiques nationales, internationales. Rien ne peut se faire sans les élus locaux. Nous déplorons effectivement la guerre en Ukraine, le séisme en Turquie et en Syrie qui a fait énormément de morts. Ce sont les maires qui sont aux avant-postes. En tant que collectivité, des fonds ont été créés dans différents pays pour abonder, non pas par dizaines de millions d'euros, mais des fois par 100, 500, 1000, 10 000 euros en fonction de la taille de nos collectivités. Et ces petits pas additionnés, on sait très bien que 1 + 1 fait 3. Et c'est pour continuer à engager ce message que nous devons apporter à nos échelles, cette aide internationale, mais aussi comment ramener un message fort à nos élus. Et c'est pour revenir avec le message avec les médias qui était très fort et cette instance qui a permis de se dire les choses. C'est que j'ai besoin, moi, en tant qu'élu territorial, que la presse se fasse écho de tous les travaux exceptionnels qui se font au sein de CGLU pour venir avec un support, non pas un support que nous produisons nous, mais un support, une lecture faite par la presse pour appuyer tous ces messages forts. Et je pense que nous devons aussi travailler au sein de CGLU pour accompagner la presse à venir nous écouter, à venir retranscrire ces messages universels de manière à ce qu'on puisse encore mieux impliquer nos populations dans l'humanité que nous partageons. Merci beaucoup pour toute cette énergie, Emilia, et à tout le monde.
Merci, merci à vous. On va continuer ce dialogue avec la presse, effectivement, dans le cadre de notre bureau exécutif à Bruxelles. Donc, je pense que c'est important de tenir ça en compte. Et si vous savez aussi décider sur quelle presse, quelle personnalité on pourrait inviter, c'est aussi à vous de donner des idées, de contacter. Très bien. Let us go. Dos últimas palabras ya. El vicepresidente para CGLU de América Latina, el intendente de Esteban Echevarría, por favor, y después el secretario general de nuestra sección europea. Y con esto concluimos, Presidenta, y vamos a la fase de la reunión formal de presidencia.
Bueno, muy buenos días a todos y todas. Antes que nada, cuando Emilia preguntaba qué nos llevamos de este retiro, lo primero que me llevo es el orgullo de ver cada vez más mujeres empoderadas. Digo esto por nuestra presidenta, que es un orgullo para nuestra región, para nuestra red, ver a Emilia y ver cada vez más equipos de mujeres muy valiosas en estas organizaciones que van ocupando espacios importantes. También la necesidad de hacer un llamamiento hacia la paz, que me parece que es algo importante, teniendo en cuenta que no somos estados, que somos ciudades, pero que nuestras ciudades abren las puertas para personas refugiadas o desplazadas de manera forzosa. También el llamamiento a la solidaridad y a la fraternidad con el pueblo de Turquía y de Siria, por los momentos que están pasando. Y ya en el trabajo concreto del retiro, felicitar realmente a una vez más, a nuestra secretaria general, pero fundamentalmente entendiendo que todo trabajo, quienes somos líderes locales, sabemos muy bien que todo trabajo se hace en equipo. Y detrás de un trabajo que encabeza alguien hay un equipo, y este enorme equipo es EGLU, donde siempre está todo perfectamente cuidado y ordenado, es muy importante, con lo cual quiero felicitar a ese equipo que hay trabajando permanentemente. Y el último tema que me llevo, y no menor, es trabajar permanentemente por la unidad, empezando por casa, empezando por Latinoamérica. Quiero agradecerte, Johnny, a ti, a todo el equipo, a Sergio, que estamos trabajando permanentemente en una unidad que siempre hay que trabajarla, pero que está la vocación de que en esa unidad está el futuro de nuestra región y el futuro de nuestra organización. Y ya por último, el tema de los medios me ha parecido muy inteligente, Emilia. Te felicito porque la verdad que eso habla de visión de futuro, visión estratégica y la visión que tiene que tener esta organización de cara al futuro. Así que muchas gracias a todos y todas.
Muchísimas gracias. Fabrizio Rossi, Secretary General of UCLG Europe and CEMR.
Thank you very much, Emilia. I promise you I'm going to be very, very brief. I would like to start by saying that indeed we do recognize the effort that you did as Secretariat in preparing this wonderful session. I do already share this with you privately. I do appreciate your effort really to go really always beyond the scheme, to bring innovative approaches, tools and methodologies to the table. And indeed, this is what I'm bringing home. The marketplace is indeed very, very interesting. I do agree with the señor Fernando Grey. La sesión sobre comunicación, the session on communication, I found it very, very interesting. Now, with this, probably an humble proposal from my side for the next section, I think it would be probably interesting to leave an open point on the agenda, 1 hour, an open mic session. This could be the space for our political leaders to share and to discuss on those issues that are more sensitive to them in that specific time. Today, for instance, given what happened in Turkey and Syria, given the tragedy, given the challenges our friends are facing, it would have been probably interesting to hear from them how they are facing those challenges, what they are doing, how they are coping with the situation, because we all know in this era of polycrisis, we need really to get prepared for the future shocks and build local capacity. Also, given the anniversary of the war against Ukraine, I think it would have been interesting also to hear from our communities in Georgia, Moldova, Ukraine, the way they are facing this situation, the challenges they have on the ground, because of course this is a war that is, first of all, caused by national states, but the impact is local. Of course, the war is on cities, on communities, on territories. So I think that we should also probably give the space to our political leaders even to share their feelings, their emotions on those issues that are more sensitive. that specific time. So this is an humble proposal for the next session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Emilia.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. I really like the idea of this open mic session. I have to confess to you all that we have tried to leave open sessions without an agenda, and the pressure to get confirmed speaking slots has been so big from you that we ended up packing the meetings. But this is a commitment. I think there needs to be an open mic session, not only for the political leaders, but also for the rest. Concerning those two specific topics, the presidency the presidency in UCLG, the presidency team has always been very open, but I think this team, this diverse team, is even more open, and in fact has decided that their session will be open to other political representatives. So it is in fact a little bit of an open mic, and those two topics that you have touched upon, both of them are on the agenda of the presidency. It does not substitute the open mic thing. I really like it. So let us work on that. It's a very good suggestion. This is the closing of the retreat, closing of that part. Thank you all very much. Grab a coffee, and we will go to the presidency meeting. Thank you for your patience, and thank you all.